restoring readiness, increasing lethality, building capacity. Phrases like these read off like the bullet points to a new and futuristic naval strategy. But in reality, these concepts are a return to our naval roots. Hi, I'm Tom Frezza, Director of Education for the National Museum of the United States Navy, and today we're going to discuss the importance of the Naval Act of 1794. The Naval Act of 1794, or simply the Naval Act, was passed by Congress on March 27, 1794, and signed into law by President George Washington. It authorized the construction of 6 frigates, which would serve as the foundation of the United States Navy. Today, it's common understanding that a navy is a vital component of our nation's defense, but at the time, it was a bold concept for our young nation. During the Revolutionary War, the Continental Navy was primarily a patchwork of converted merchant vessels and privateers, whose main job was to harass and intercept British shipping. In 1775, Congress actually authorized the construction of 13 new frigates for the Continental Navy, but only 8 made it out to sea, and even then, the ships were hopelessly outnumbered by the powerful British fleet. At the end of the Revolutionary War, in August 1785, Congress sold the last Continental Navy ship, the Alliance, because the new nation saw no need for a full-time navy. Some founding fathers argued that navies were too costly to build, too expensive to maintain, and undemocratic. Besides, from a defensive standpoint, an entire ocean separated us from the empires of Europe. But as a young nation, America was quickly challenged, and many foreign powers found that they could routinely harass American merchant ships, often with complete impunity. The greatest threat came from the Barbary states, who would seize our ships, imprison American sailors, and demand tribute payments to pass through the Mediterranean. As early as the 1780s, then Minister to France Thomas Jefferson began advocating for the creation of a navy, but his requests fell upon deaf ears. Then, in July 1793, the Algerines captured no fewer than 8 American merchant ships, and the United States had finally had enough. The reestablishment of an official American Navy would begin with the Naval Act of March 27, 1794, when Congress authorized the construction of 6 frigates. These 6 frigates would become the foundation of the U.S. Navy that was established in 1798. Before any of these vessels were complete, the United States negotiated a treaty with Algiers that included a ransom payment for American prisoners, the gift of a frigate, and a tribute. Despite a clause in the 1794 Frigate Act requiring all shipbuilding cease in the event of peace with Algiers, on April 20th, 1796, Congress authorized the completion of 3 frigates: Constitution, United States, and Constellation. But in a scene that was all too familiar, France began to seize American merchant vessels, and a navy was again needed to answer the call. France further escalated tensions with America in 1798 by declaring it would seize all vessels trading with Britain. Congress responded to France's combative posture by equipping the original 3 frigates launched in 1797 for active operations. They also decided to complete the 3 unfinished frigates and would procure an additional 31 vessels. Finally, Congress established a separate Navy department. It was then that the United States decided to take its maritime status seriously, to stand up for itself in the world and defend its sovereignty. And it all started with 6 frigates. The Naval Act represents not just the founding of a full-time professional Navy for the United States, but it is the first time we took steps to become a maritime power. To this day, we still rely upon our Navy. The lessons of the Naval Act taught us the ideas like restoring readiness, increasing lethality, and building capacity have always been a part of our heritage. And while our uniforms and equipment may have changed, our purpose is still the same. I'm Tom Frezza, Director of Education for the National Museum of the United States Navy.